gonna bump me? You gonna bump me? Don't bump me. Watch out, look. Get the fuck up, man. I'll take care of this.
Hey, relax.
Touch me again, boy.
A new battle is erupting in America's cities, a clash of civilizations that's only just beginning. Yesterday, anti-Islam activists collided with pro-Muslim counter-protesters in the city of Dearborn, Michigan, home to one of America's largest Muslim populations. But what's happening in Dearborn is actually a microcosm of what's happening in cities across the nation, and it's the Democrat Party that has the most to lose. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, and we're going to see what's really happening with the rising Muslim force in American politics and what it means for a future conservative age. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's dive right in. If you were just listening, you might think you were in a place like Riyadh or Cairo or Islamabad. But that Islamic call to prayer is actually resonating throughout the city of Dearborn, Michigan. Dearborn has one of the largest Muslim populations in the nation. Based on the 2020 census data, 55% of Dearborn's 100,000 residents are of Middle Eastern or North African ancestry, most of them Arab, making Dearborn the first Arab majority and Muslim majority city in the nation. Together with neighboring Hamtramck, the two cities are radically changing urban politics. Now, these are scenes from just months back from the explosive local school board meeting in Dearborn that erupted when parents got word that books involving explicit LGBT content were being given to their kids. And this was the result. And it didn't stop there. In neighboring Hamtramck, the all-Muslim city council there voted unanimously to officially ban the LGBT pride flag from being flown on any and all city property. And while you might think that many would welcome this turn to conservative values in our nation's cities, a number of Christian conservatives are asking the question, yeah, but at what expense? Enter Jake Lang. Jake was among the hundreds of J6 protesters pardoned by President Trump, and he's currently a U.S. Senate candidate in Florida. Yesterday, Jake and a number of other Christian patriots took to the streets of Dearborn to protest what they see as the Islamification of American cities. Jake is alleging that Dearborn and an increasing number of other cities are in danger of being governed ultimately by Sharia law rather than the American Constitution. And in pure clash of civilizations fashion, he's arguing that Islam is incompatible with America and that Muslims cannot coexist with American values. Needless to say, the protests got very heated, especially after it was reported that Jake or another protester were preparing to publicly burn a Quran. There was at least one arrest, and things eventually dissipated. But I can assure you, the larger issue, the larger clash, the civilizational clash, has not. And that's because what's happening in Dearborn and Hamtramck is happening in an increasing number of American cities. There's an extraordinary transformation happening in our nation's Democrat strongholds. And ironically, it's the Democrat Party that's about to change the most. Hey gang, big news. We're about to launch our brand new Turley Talk shop for Black Friday. And I want you to get in before anyone else. Early bird RSVPs get first access to the new store and a free copy of my America Awakened audiobook just for signing up. We're dropping our biggest Black Friday deal ever. All new Patriot wear, exclusive bundles, signed books, and early access gets the head start on everything. So click the link, join the early access list, and I'll send you the store preview and your free audiobook right away. Don't miss this, gang. Black Friday starts early for us. Jump on the list right now. what's so ironic in the wake of Zoran Mamdani's recent win in New York City and in the all-Democrat city council in Hamtramck is that for years, Muslims actually voted predominantly Republican. For example, back in 2000, George W. Bush got 70% of the Muslim vote due to social conservatism, their entrepreneurship, their family values, and opposition to same-sex marriage. But after 9/11, everything changed, and Muslims began to turn away from the Republican Party towards the Democrats. A whopping 85% of Muslims voted for John Kerry in what was one of the most stunning partisan swings in modern politics. After the election of Barack Obama, the defection was complete. And within about 10 years, Muslim activists such as Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib made their way into Congress as Democrats. By 2025, Muslims won at least 6 mayorships and over 250 elected positions nationwide, with the highest prize, of course, going to the recent victory of Mamdani in the mayoral race over the largest city in the nation. But there's an even deeper irony in all of this, and that's what's technically known as white flight, the mass migration of white people from predominantly urban areas to the suburbs, driven by fears of declining property values and increasing crime. Beginning in the 1960s, conservative Christian white evangelicals and Catholics abandoned our nation's cities in droves, in stunning numbers. Churches moved to the suburbs. Evangelical colleges moved out of the cities into the suburbs and rural areas. And as a result, we began to see the dramatic red-blue conservative liberal divide between suburban rural areas on the one hand and urban cosmopolitan areas on the other. In retrospect, what seems so strange today is how many actually once thought this was a permanent divide. But as liberal left-wing policies began to contribute inordinately to societal rot in virtually every Democrat-run city in the nation, these cities were ripe for a political takeover. But of course, within the Democrat Party, because of course, white evangelicals and Catholic conservatives left this massive vacuum, this void to be filled. And that is exactly what we're seeing in Dearborn and Hamtramck and an increasing number of municipalities across the country. Islamic activists and politicians are filling that void. They have thoroughly infiltrated urban politics under the guise, ironically, of civil rights and woke social justice. And they are emerging as the most powerful forces in metropolitan Democratic circles today. However, as we're also seeing in Dearborn and Hamtramck, once that power is realized and becomes overwhelming, the very first victim of that power is left-wing liberalism itself. We saw dynamics like this recently across the pond in Birmingham, England, at Parkfield Community School. They were instituting what they called a no outsiders curriculum, a thoroughly left-wing liberal program that seeks to teach children how wrong it is to exclude anyone on the basis of sexual orientation or identity. Just one problem. The majority of the school is Muslim. And when I say majority, I'm talking 80% of the school's population. And so 80% of the students were yanked out of class by furious Muslim parents who completely objected to having pro-LGBT ideology shoved down the throats of their kids. And so the school that was supposedly so dedicated to advocating the concerns of the LGBT community and standing up for liberal values, they relented. They completely capitulated to these Muslim parents and officially suspended the course. Gang, this is the pattern over and over and over again. The new force of Democrat politics in our nation's urban areas today is a thoroughly conservative Islam, and it is radically changing the municipal Democratic Party from within. Now, what's so key here is that takeover obviously has a lot of crossover, a lot of common ground with the social conservatism of MAGA and of socially conservative Republican Party. But the civilizational tension between Islam and Christianity is, as we just saw, still very much there. All of this is to say that while our cities will increasingly start turning far more socially conservative in the years to come, the religious force affecting that turn may end up leading to far more civilizational clashes like we saw in Dearborn coming to a city near you.